Hello everyone, welcome to the Orion. I'm Ryan Nicholas Gray.
Hello, my name is Aaron Connie Castle.
Hello, I'm David DeWitt Taylor.
Thank you. Today we welcome John DuBois, who works in the broad field of individuals with disabilities. He is a speech pathologist who helps those but with speech problems to learn, speaking clearly, and to slow down their words. And his time is spent on guiding individuals with difficulties to gain command over their words and how to convey their thoughts and ideas so he can be better understood. His skills of those with disabilities are enable one to make progress and to show their abilities. Welcome, John. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, John, can you please tell us a little bit about your background growing up?
About my background growing up?
Yep.
Well, I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and when I was in elementary school, my father taught me that it was very important to help people with my life. And when I was in about the 5th grade, I was diagnosed with a speech and language disability. I had a hard time saying a couple of my sounds in speech. And so once I was able to work through that and got into college, I decided that the area of communication was important enough that I should spend my time trying to help people who have problems communicating, because I feel that communication is the gateway through which most people interact with their world.
Tell us about your family.
Okay. My father just got remarried. My mother passed away a couple years ago. I have a brother and a sister, and I just celebrated my first wedding anniversary with my wife.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry?
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
How did you get interested in speech therapy?
As I said before, I was trying to find a job area where I could help people out. And early in college, a lot of my training was in communication sciences, how people communicate at different times and how they might better help themselves to communicate. And I decided that becoming a speech therapist was a great way to help people interact with their world in a positive way and to help them explain their needs to other people in the world who might not be able to understand and seek that information on their own.
Wow. Ryan?
Thank you, David. Now, John, what kind of education do you need to become a speech therapist?
To become a speech pathologist in the state of Michigan, as well as most places in the country, you need a master's degree in speech and language pathology, and that requires that you first get your bachelor's degree. And so it's a 4-year degree, followed by a 2-year degree, and then you have to do a 36-week clinical fellowship where you are supervised by another speech pathologist, and you have to take a standardized examination. And once you do, both degrees, the test and the supervised time, you have your certification to be a speech pathologist in your own right.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is a significant amount of work.
How long have you been in this field?
I'm about to finish my 4th year as a speech pathologist.
What does your job entail?
My job entails, I'm in a contract position, so I do a number of different jobs. Right now I am working in kindergarten through 8th grade education, where I help students in school buildings get better with either their speech sounds, their articulation, their speech fluency, or their expressive and receptive language. I also do some work helping people with swallowing disorders, and I do some work helping people who have developmental disabilities and other speech and language disabilities in a home care context.
Ryan?
Thank you, David and Aaron. Now, John, how many clients do you see in a week?
In an average week, I see about 50 to 60 different people.
Wow.
Yeah, the average caseload for a school speech therapist is about 50, and I work in the schools 4 days a week, and then I see a number of people on top of that, and so it's between 50 and 60 a week.
How are clients assigned to you?
They're assigned to me a couple different ways. In the schools, I usually get students through teacher referrals or through parent request. With the swallowing evaluations and the home care context, my company gets referrals through community living services or a similar health agency, and my company then forwards those referrals on to me.
Okay.
Do you have to undergo lots of background checks?
Me personally, is my background checked?
Yeah.
Okay. I have to do some background checks, the same background checks that anybody else working in mental health does. I have to have my fingerprints taken. I have to have my background checked out by the state to make sure that I'm not on a sex offender list or a similar list. But in terms of having to do an FBI background check or anything like that, I don't have to do that. I just have to do the standard background checks for someone who works with children.
Now, John, tell us about your current job.
My current job? Currently, I work in schools. I drive around to various schools. I've got one in Warren and one in Westland. And then I have group homes and individual homes that I work at, ranging anywhere from weekly speech and language services to annual swallowing evaluations. And those are located throughout Wayne County and Oakland County.
Thank you.
Do you have future plans for your career?
At this time, I don't really have any particular plans for my career. And that's mostly a personal choice. My wife and I decided we're going to enjoy where we are right now, and then any future plans we'd make would be dependent on what we decide once our lifestyle changes and we decide to have children. And so right now I'm pretty happy where I am.
Do you have any special tactics that you use in your therapy?
I have a variety of strategies that I do use in therapy. I'm somebody who likes to use technology in my treatment. And so sometimes if I have someone who I'm working on their own monitoring of their communication, I will videotape them during a session because I have one of those small video recorders. And following the recording, we'll review the tape and determine, so the person I'm working with can see for themselves what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and give themselves feedback. I also have a tablet computer that I use in the school so that my students can do something on the computer in more of a game context, so it's something they enjoy doing, as well as something that helps them develop their speech and language abilities.
Wow, that is very cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, Mr. DuBois, where do you see your clients?
I see my clients either in the school, and when I see them in the school, I usually see them in my own office rather than in a classroom, and I do that for their own privacy. And I also see people in their homes, and I do some speech and language treatments in an outpatient clinic that my company operates.
Thank you.
Do you give your clients homework?
I try not to give my clients anything
Awesome.
formal in terms of homework. I will give them a direction. Try to work on your eye contact. Try to work on slowing your rate down. But I find homework to be demotivating. And I think most of my students, especially in the schools, get enough homework from their teachers that anything else I give them is overwhelming and demotivating. And if the students don't like coming to speech class, they don't improve as quickly.
Sweetness. Do you engage the clients helping team in speech practice?
I do I find that I engage my clients in a variety of ways. I try to get them to do things that are in a natural communication context, whether it's storytelling or something like that, so that they stay engaged. But there are a variety of strategies that speech pathologists use, and that's only one of them.
Thank you, Aaron. Now, John, my question to you, John, is this question: what is your favorite things about your job?
I would say my favorite thing about my job is that it is never boring. I do enough different things at my job that it never becomes a routine and never becomes a pattern. One day I might be going to see 3 or 4 different people at their mealtime for a swallowing evaluation. The next day I might be at a school all day, meeting with parents and working with students there. And the next day I might be working with somebody who has autism on developing communication strategies because they don't speak. And so from day to day I keep my schedule flexible and varied so that it never becomes boring.
Do you have a favorite pastime?
I am a big fan of following political news. Mm-hmm. When I was in college, I enjoyed competitive public speaking a lot, which also helped me get involved in speech pathology. And I am a huge hockey fan.
Okay.
What is your biggest success story? And please tell me it's Ryan.
Yeah, shush.
My biggest success story has been a student who I started seeing. He was 8 years old. We were seeing him in the outpatient clinic setting. I started seeing him about a month after he came to the clinic. He had, at that point, had 2 different therapists before me, and they had a lot of difficulty managing him physically. Because he was relatively aggressive when he didn't want to do things. His method of doing that was to try to strike out at the person who he was working with. And eventually I got assigned to him because I had a good 6 inches and 50 pounds on anybody else who was working as a speech therapist at my company at the time. And over the course of 2 years, I worked with that 8-year-old who wasn't speaking and was reacting aggressively to everyone, to the point where at the age of 10, his first attempt to communicate was to ask for something verbally or use a sign. And over the course of a month, had 0 aggressive meltdowns when he was having one at least twice a session, twice a week.
John, have you seen the movie The King's Speech?
I have seen the movie The King's Speech. I think it's an excellent movie.
John, how is his job like the movie?
My job is like the movie in a number of ways. The biggest one is that we have to do some things that look pretty weird in order to help somebody with their speech. In the movie, for example, there's a scene where the prince has to, in order to overcome his stutter, swear very loudly to himself and to his speech therapist. And while I don't let my under 18 students swear in the session, one thing I do have them do that is in the movie is I have them sing. Sometimes singing helps you to speak more fluently just because you're thinking about it differently. And I have found that with especially my younger students who aren't self-conscious about it, having them start out by singing and then transitioning that into speaking really helps them maintain smooth speech. A lot of the stuff from the beginning of the film, like putting marbles in your mouth and things like that, those are things that speech therapists used to do. And those are things that they did try with King George before he met Mr. Logue. And those are things that as they said in the movie, had been things they were doing for 2,000 years, and the field finally got up to date.
Now, John, tell me something. What is your favorite restaurant? And be honest.
My favorite restaurant is Buca di Beppo.
It's pronounced Buca di Beppo.
Buca di Beppo. It is a family-style Italian restaurant.
Oh.
It has a number of locations. I think the one closest to here is on Hall Road. And it is the best Italian food I've ever had.
It means Buca di Pepe. That's it. Buca di Pepe.
That might be it.
Yep, I think I've been to the one in Novi.
Through videotape and I'm in tablets.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like taking video?
I do like taking the video just because it's a context where the person I'm working with can watch themselves and understand more what I'm talking about in a speech therapy session. If I'm talking to somebody saying, when you're speaking, you sometimes don't make enough eye contact, or you sometimes talk too quickly, or you have a hard time saying S's and K's at the same time.
Yeah.
It's one thing for someone to hear that and listen and try to work on it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing entirely for them to watch themselves and understand what they look like to someone else.
Okay.
And I find that having that insight into how you look to an outside observer really helps with the development process.
Okay.
I see you brought water today. What do you drink in the meantime?
I used to drink a lot of Diet Coke. And that is, first of all, not very good for my sleeping. And second, it's not very good, as a speech pathologist, I have to admit, it's not very good for your voice.
Yeah.
And so I have since then switched to drinking water and that powdered Crystal Light that you put, like the lemonade flavored drinks. And those are both really the best things you can do for your speech and for your voice.
What is your favorite sport?
My favorite sport is hockey.
Do you watch any cartoons?
I don't watch any cartoons right now, but I do, well, I don't by myself.
Yeah.
My nephew and I watch some cartoons when we're babysitting.
Okay.
And his favorite is Word Girl.
What
And
Word
I've got to
Girl.
admit I like that one a lot.
Word Girl.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good movie.
I'm beginning to like Yu-Gi-Oh.
I'm trying to get him interested into the classics.
I kind of like Looney Tunes myself when I was a kid. John, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food.
Yes.
I'm a really big fan of hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
It's one of those and mashed potatoes are my two foods that I really like that I'm not allowed to have anymore because my wife won't eat them. And so when I cook, I've got to cook something we'll both eat. No hot dogs, no mashed potatoes.
What is your favorite vacation spot?
My favorite vacation spot is Alaska.
Alaska?
Alaska.
Why Alaska?
Because it is absolutely beautiful. The people you meet there tend to be very relaxed, and it's a very easy way to get away from some of the stress that living in, an urban or suburban environment can sometimes cause.
David, would you please call us, David?
I will today. Thank you, Sean, for being our guest today. You have shared lots of personal information and told us how you have chosen a career that directly helps those needing speech therapy and rules needing to speak clearly. Your chosen career, the desire to live your life, to help others, to communicate, is highly important. It is valuable service to those with disabilities. It has been a pleasure to meet you and to know more about your specialized work. Your sharing will help our audience have a better understanding of a career choice that scientifically enriches lives, allowing clients to communicate better and to be understood. We all want to have the ability to voice our ideas. Thanks so much, John. It has been a pleasure having you as our guest today.
And thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to be
Hey,
here.
John, thanks for coming. I'm Ryan Nicholas Ray, along with my two friends, and they are.
My name is Anaconda Castle. Thanks for being on guest today.
I'm David DeWitt Taylor. See you again next month in June. Have a great summer.
Bye, guys.